Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have a very interesting video for you guys. It's actually my coverage of the WatchBuys Roadshow, and I figured I'd actually open the video with a little bit of footage from this really cool Hanhart Pioneer 1 that I recently reviewed because it's honestly a brand that I discovered through the WatchBuys Roadshow. Um, Basically, I went there back in 2017, and they had a really cool presentation there and a guest speaker from Hanhart, and I was really taken really by the passion and their attention to detail in the product. And I thought it would be a fitting way to kick off my coverage for this year's 2020 event that happened over in Irvine, California, located here in Southern California. So, because I mean, I think that's the whole point, right? Is you get to go to these road shows and you get to see stuff you don't find at your typical watch store or boutique, and you get to try it on, you get to take a look, and you kind of get a better idea than you do with your basic, what you can find online and whatnot. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and roll in some of that footage. So we're going to go ahead and start with Fortis here, which I thought they did a great job of representing, really the Fortis brand. Of course, they're not a German brand like most of the watches featured there at the event. They are Swiss made, but I feel like that tool aesthetic and that minimalist look definitely is something that speaks to a very similar aesthetic, I'd say, with the other watches that are there, like Zen and whatnot. This was one that I was really looking forward to seeing. I really love that kind of panda dial, Daytona style there that you can really get at quite an affordable price from a brand that has some real significance there from Fortis. Really great. And one of the nice things is when you see these in person, it actually reminds you just how reasonably sized these watches are. I feel like in pictures you kind of always get carried away and think everything looks much bigger than it actually is when you have it in hand and you're able to actually take a look at the dials, take a look at the bezels, look at those proportions, look at the way it plays on wrist. Um, for example, look at these little guys right here. Very thin. I showcased these the last time I was there. I'm surprised these haven't become more successful. My suspicion is that they're not selling probably as well as they could, is just because they're fully polished, and I don't see why Fortis chose to go with a fully polished case. But man, I think that thing has so much potential. It just offers so much. You can see again that great design language, definitely very functional. That's kind of is their form factor, is everything just looks super functional. Here's a really nice little limited edition. I really enjoyed just basically, having a little trouble pulling that one out of the box there. But I really enjoy that aesthetic that Fortis has. It's very clean, very minimalist, and definitely very much tool oriented. Now to sneak in a little bit of hand-heart action, the Primus line here. Actually, I recently reviewed this watch, and it should be actually publishing very soon. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Here's those really cool motorsports mono pusher chronographs, and then you have, of course, your very classic and traditional pilot's chronograph. And then really nice Pioneer 1 pilot's watch. They're in that classic blue. Then you have the black model. Very handsome. These things are absolutely killer. And this is one that I was really excited about right here, guys. I'm actually in talks with Hanhart to get one of these once they have them available for me to do a review. And this is one that I take a lot of interest in. And I'll actually be closing the video with a little bit more footage specifically on that model, because actually as I'm looking through here right now, I'm pretty sure, yeah, the focus just was having a little bit of trouble tracking. But I'm really excited about this model. I think it has a really great look. I'm digging the aesthetic, and I think the price point is even quite reasonable. And for you to get really a brand that's quite desirable when it comes to that kind of inner circle of watch idiot savants. So yeah, that's the S series. Really nice. As you can see, again, Now we have kind of the more staples in that kind of design language you see from Hanhart. And then we're going to move on to some Zen. Okay, guys, and really, this is one of the great things about these shows is I look at these even on camera and I just feel like they're larger and those big watches. But man, I gotta tell you, having that Zen 104 right in front of you, the dial proportions makes you realize that that thing is actually super manageable. And these watches, if you guys are ever feeling a little bit taken back by the sizes, these are super wearable 41 millimeter watches. In this line right here, those things look absolutely great, and it's really been tough for me to kind of stay away. And one of the reasons I have been is just because it's such a competitive market in that space. And honestly, I feel like Zen, although they are a very solid brand, they just aren't huge when it comes to value proposition. They do offer tons of street cred and, of course, name recognition and whatnot. But honestly, that's not necessarily what it's all about. And the street cred they bring is definitely not, as high tier as some of the more entry level luxury brands. I think it definitely gives you nice street cred when it comes to kind of a really solid tool watch that's well built, well spec'd, and definitely well executed. But as far as the complexity in a lot of their finishing, it's just not at the same level as other watches in that price range. Now, this is one that I was really happy to see, the blue dial variant of this model. This is actually slightly larger than my 556. This is the 40 millimeter case version. I want to say it's like an 8, maybe an 856. I forget exactly what the nomenclature was, but this blue dial looked really cool. The lighting wasn't the greatest, but I did want to show you guys because yeah, 856. That they're just really cool. I wish that they would have done the date window the same as the 556, where they would have had it actually parallel versus canted. But you can't have it all. Again, really nice Zen there, and a nice limited edition with the red tip, and then more Zenning action. So I love these big divers. These ones are actually meant to be quite large, but because of the way that they have those sculpted straps, they definitely wrap around the wrist really well. Here we have that U1 blue. And with the T2 being discontinued, it's nice to see that they still have a really bold blue diver pretty much ready for action. I really like this watch. It's essentially, a modern day mill sub. And then here you see again some real beauty around more of the aviation side. These ones were, oh, here we go, the Navitimer, very cool. If you don't know, they actually, while Breitling was going out of Breitling, whatever, while they were going out of business, they actually sold the rights to a lot of different components and names and what, and the Navitimer was one of them, and they actually were produced by Zen under, very legally, with a very similar look and build and real general purpose. Here again, more Zen, really great. All these pieces, very nice, quite sterile, but that's part of Zen's aesthetic, so you really can't be too mad. Now, speaking of sterile, now we're going to go to kind of the other side of what WatchBuys introduces you to, and these are some of the really, really high-end pieces. I mean, these things are just exactly what a horological connoisseur is going to drool over. The level of complexity and the level of just fine details on these pieces was really, really outstanding, guys. Look at the little finishings and fine details in every little nook and cranny of these dials. Look at that octopus or squid there. I'm trying to get it a little bit better in the lighting for you guys to take a look. But man, this stuff is impressive. I was really blown away by just the amount of hand finishing and craftsmanship that goes into something like this. Of course, that's not something that I would personally wear, but if I had the money, it definitely could be a really great wild card watch. Something to really wow some people, and a great conversational piece just because the high level of finish and quality and details. And then you have stuff where it's a very simple aesthetic, but the fine details are still there and really well represented. So okay, so we're gonna go ahead and close it on this beautiful S series. This upcoming release from Hanhart, I think, is a real winner. A lot of crossover appeal. Love that very stark militaristic design. I'm loving even the blacked out nature there. Super monochrome look. Really nice. Available in a GMT as well, which I'm hoping to have a review for the channel soon. So make sure if you like the video, please do hit like. And if you haven't subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.